And we are live. Let's see if we're on the right stream.
Hello.
I still don't know about this little.
Hello.
Let me just post that we are going live.
Yes, it did work. We are live on Miniature Monthly's stream.
Okay. And is it the same Twitch link? Will it just automatically go?
Twitch.tv/Miniature Monthly.
Okay.
Where you should send that link. And let's see if I can edit the stream info from here. Hello, folks. Taking a second just to post. It's not our normal place, so figuring that out.
There it goes. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I found the edit button. I can change the title. Woohoo! Sculpting nymphs in Zbrush.
So I gave her this fun splash bra, which I'm stupidly happy about. Is it dumb? Yes, but it makes me happy. So
Eric Jackson says hello.
hello, Eric Jackson. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Indeed.
We are working on our river nymph today. What are you up to?
Let's see if I can't make your camera fit just a little better in your little box. Your camera box. The box for your camera.
Glad you specified.
He says, in the hospital waiting for physical therapy.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm so sorry to hear about your foot. I hope you're feeling a little better now. Recovering well.
Now, we are guest hosting here on Miniature Monthly stream, right? We do this about once a month, up over here and stream in a different place.
Oh. Yeah. Trying to be cool on the Cool Kids channel. Is it working?
I don't know. Couldn't
Are
tell
we
you.
cool yet?
says now that the infection is cleared, it feels much better.
Well, that's good.
Let's see. What do we want to talk about first? We should talk about. We got our current release, right? Which this is the last day to get. If you're interested in the Poison Apple Pub, it's the last day to get it. Well, you can still get it, but it's the last day to get it as part of one of the subscription services.
Yeah.
Eric says now he's learning to get around. That's a.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be like a whole learning process, I'm sure. One time I broke my foot, or like my ankle, right when we were moving. Oof. And that was just it's just the worst, trying to figure out like how to move when all I had was like crutches and packing everything up. It was terrible.
I like how excessively skinny she is.
Yeah, she's waspy.
I think you might even be able to push that a little further on her left side.
Her left side.
Mm-hmm. It's working for me that it's just very exaggerated, extremely exaggerated, which makes sense for the lore for the nymphs, right?
Yeah.
So nymphs in our setting are very different than Fae in general in our setting are very different than Fae in most settings.
Mm-hmm.
You are focused.
I am, yeah.
So the Fae, I'll segue, and something will trigger you at some point, I'm sure. The Fae in our setting are atypical in the sense that the lore is very different. So all of the nature spirits, all of the Fae, we don't like how emotionally anthropomorphized most settings make the Fae, right? We try too hard to make them relatable, which is important to be able to relate because, well, you got to be able to role play this thing, right? For an RPG, you have to be able to determine what this character, quote unquote, would do and how it would behave to interact with your players. So having a reference point is critical. And what we came up with was that the Fae view mortals the same way mortals view animals. Right? We've got stock animals. We've got beasts of burden. We have pets. We have animals that we just don't like and exterminate. And different humans might treat animals differently. But by and large, there's a wide swath of how people interact with animals. So, Eric Jackson says PT is here. GUJ. I'm assuming that was supposed to be got to go.
Okay, have fun. Work hard. Mm-hmm. Get better.
Push yourself. Oh, some stream lagging here.
I said have fun, but then I didn't think about that. It's not going to be fun, but hopefully good for you.
Yeah. So we are, let's see, talking about the Fae, how they're different. Oh, so first giving you a reference point, right? So How do you view your horse? If you live in the 1900s, early 1900s, late 1800s, how valuable is your horse? Or any time before that? How do you look at your horse? How do you treat your horse? And all of those things, from the time they're baby horses, foals, you teach them, you're halter breaking them, you're teaching them to be good servants from the time they're born. And you take care of them in response. So we decided the Fae should do the same thing, right? They should, if they view humans like animals, they should take care of them from very early ages, teach them, nourish them, and raise them to be good servants. If you're a plow horse, the best plow horses have been plow horses their whole life. On the other hand, if you're raising cattle for consumption, well, that's a very different approach. So there should be Fae that do that. And if you have pets, some people take pets far more seriously than other people. Some people care for their pets and take much more personal responsibility for their stewardship of animals than others. So we want that variety in how the Fae interact with people.
Yeah, there should be a range. Mm-hmm. Which also kind of allows you as the DM to decide, like, in this instance, this Fae is just like really monstrous. There's not really going to be like reasoning with it. You're not going to, it doesn't really want anything to do with you in terms of like rationing out with you, or, bargaining or negotiating. Yeah. Right. But then it also gives you the freedom to be like, no, this one likes this particular kind of human, and they'd be open to negotiating.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe not even negotiating. You go to the park and feed the ducks. You don't get anything back for that. Which right. is very not in keeping with traditional Fae, right? Where they don't do anything without an equitable exchange. And to a degree, we're shedding that. But we're only shedding it in so much as we're just making it inaccurate lore. It's still a common belief because it will usually work to help you predict how a Fae will behave. But by shifting their actual motivation, you can still use that lore. People can still believe that, and it will be right most of the time. But a big component of that lore is, but you can never tell what's going to be valuable to a Fae. What are they going to view as an equitable exchange? Well, that's perfect, right? Because now when you're offering what you think is an equitable exchange and it doesn't work the way that you think it should as a player,
there's a good reason for that.
There's a good reason for that. That's right. And you're rationalizing it as the player as, it thought a lifetime of service was a fair trade for this apple that it gave me. Well, no, not really. It didn't think that was a fair trade, but you're rationalizing it that way. And they might even present it to you that way, right? Because they can be manipulative. So this paradigm serves them. So I think that's the first step, is you need something different, a new approach to it, something that makes more sense, is a little easier to role play rather than the very rigid format of, well, the important thing about Fae is that they always do equitable trade. So for this month's release, we're focusing on several models that have very specific behavior patterns towards mortals. There's a lot more to it. We're writing up a whole bunch of lore. It's all going to be part of the release. But very specifically, this group of Fae. So right now we're working on the River Fae, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a river nymph. And kind of a key player in the little town or village that a lot of this is focused around currently in Estrella, the little village of Honeyvale. And she is kind of a key player in that story. She embodies or inhabits and embodies the river that runs along the edge of that town.
Runs most of the length of the large island that is the setting. Islands make great settings because you don't have to worry about what's beyond the borders of the island too much, right? It's an easy hack job way to isolate a culture. So the island of Estrella has lots of fae on it, more powerful fae than the other places. And this particular fae inhabits the river, and is the river. So the lore for the river fae is pretty expansive so far. First, their main role, it's the reason why the river manifests itself as a nymph, is to protect itself, right? It doesn't want to be polluted or diverted in ways that are not in keeping with the rest of nature's intention for that waterway. Oh, we got a ban. Wah, wah, wah. If I can figure out how. Where's the ban button? Ban. Boom.
Bad dog.
Mm-hmm. And report them for spam.
What name did you decide on for her? Forgot.
I would have to check. No, it didn't delete the message this time. Channel actions.
It was not. It's not amphitrite, but it was similar.
Yeah.
All I remember. Amphia or something like that.
Hold on, I'm still trying to figure out how to get rid of this guy the rest of the way.
Talk about your wet blending course. This is going to be a fun one for that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, that's all I can figure out how to do. But they can't type anymore, so. Yeah, I think painting this is going to be very interesting.
That's what he says when he doesn't think it's possible.
That's not what I said. It won't
Like,
be possible for me.
It's going to be interesting.
Well, hopefully we can get some of these fine folks here at Miniature Monthly to do some really fantastic painting tutorials on some of these.
Oh, that'd be cool.
right? Like, wouldn't you like to see, say, oh, I don't know. I mean, Aaron Lovejoy would be a very interesting choice for this one himself, right? Just because all the potential for airbrush work on it.
That's what I was saying. Like with the dryads and with this one, being able to airbrush those transitions would be really useful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also, like Jeff Davis, who has really cool and interesting color choices, unique and interesting color choices on almost everything he paints.
Yeah, every time I think I know how he's gonna paint it, and then I'm like, oh, that's not what I thought he was gonna do.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so as a typical nymph, first and foremost, she offers companionship.
Eh,
Yeah, the companionship kind.
giggity.
But Estrella's not really a patriarch anymore, right? Like it's mostly a matriarchy, and protecting the waterways from being polluted. Well, they managed that. They used to manage that pretty easily, right? They would just simply funnel a disproportionate amount of the pollutants into their incarnation. So the naiad that represented the river would be heavily representative of whatever nasty stuff people had been pouring in the river. Well, that wouldn't be very fun. So, first and foremost, now less relevant now, right? Like the Thea's the druid leader of Honeyvale, and she's not spending that sort of time with the naiad. So they've had to develop other ways of making themselves useful and encouraging people not to spoil the water. So they offer bathing pools that have different scents depending on what you want, right? Some are flowery and whatnot, others are musky and heavily scented, depending on your preference. Pools of fish, she'll herd fish into little pools and make it very easy for you to catch them.
I want to take a bath in a naiad pool.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty great.
It does, doesn't it? Like a jacuzzi. It's probably warmer too. Or cooler
Probably.
on a hot day. Let's see, what else did we say that they do? Drinking water. If you drink from they keep a small pool of very clean water for you to drink. Gives you some temporary hit points and stuff like that if you drink from it. But the biggest one that they offer is, man, I feel like I'm talking to myself today. I'm getting nothing from you.
I'm sorry. This texture is like, it's challenging. I'm focused on both creating like interesting places to paint, offering a good enough variety for colors within the shape, and like places you could highlight, places you could shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But also trying to capture the texture that I want to make of water. But it's like, so the design aesthetic for all of Australian models are very influenced by Art Nouveau, very sort of like interweaving, organic shapes, with like a slight bit of edge, right? A slight bit of like sharpness to some of the corners.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been developing this kind of style for the figures that we're working on for Estrella. But a lot of times that means I'm having to like translate that kind of overarching aesthetic into very specific textures. And there is no guide to that. It's just I have to come up with it on the fly. So it is heavily brain intensive. I'm trying to think through all this. I'm here, but
Okay, that was good. Just keep talking us through stuff. That's good conversation.
yeah, so like you can see in some of the, like this shape here, I want to break up the overall swoosh
Mm-hmm.
with a few smaller shapes that you can kind of, as a painter, you go into like segment and define areas. So I want to give you little areas to be able to further define. Painting these while I work helps because then I can see it's a little different painting it than it is sculpting it, and you want to make sure that there's enough of a ledge or enough of depth to a thing to make it fun to paint. If it's fun for me, hopefully it'll be fun for you.
Hopefully that's true. Yeah.
See, like this area here, I could have very easily rounded this corner out, but I want to give just a little bit of extra sharpness, just a little bit of danger to the shape.
Now this isn't the only water nymph we're gonna do, but the only one for this set. But we're planning on coming back to do a Nereid as well, right? So this is a naiad, so this is the river nymph. And then at some point we're gonna come back and do the
An ocean one, yeah.
The Nereid, the ocean nymph, yeah. Very different lore for the ocean nymphs.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. Trying to like, I want the shape language to communicate a lot about the character. So overall, she should be very flowy, right? Because she's water, she's made of water, so she has to be flowy. But her personality is also very much more soft than, say, the ocean nymph. And so I want her shapes to reflect that, where there's not a lot of sharp edges.
Now, what do we reserve? So we're reserving the more sharp and extreme shapes for the sea nymph, who's just going to be a more extreme character, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
We need room to be able to later say just how fickle and off their rocker and potentially very dangerous the sea nymphs are.
Right. So she'll offer the contrast when you see them together, where this one will be softer, maybe more approachable in terms of her shape and design, and the other one will be more aggressive, both in her posing and her expression, on her face and in the actual shapes of the textures of the water.
That's a word that gets thrown around a lot in miniature painting, but you don't hear it too much in the miniature sculpting space. But I think it's important, the word being contrast, right?
Right, yeah.
That applies to more than just how you contrast to another mini, but even contrast within the sculpt itself, contrast between components. Like you talked about, she's going to have some sharp edges. Those sharp edges are intentionally there to contrast with the softness. And you're creating that contrast for a reason. So what mixture are you looking for, and what are you thinking about there when you're working on that?
I'm probably aiming for about 90% softness, 10% sharpness. I want there to just be like a twinge of edge. So you see how this edge here of the whole wave is very soft and loopy, and it's got rounded tips. And then there's just a couple that I've put here where they come to a little point instead of being rounded out.
And what does that say about her?
It's just communicating that she's not passive. She has some element of danger to her. She might not be an overall dangerous being, but don't underestimate her.
Bryce wants to know, do you need calculus to calculate that percentage?
No, you smart aleck.
So for a painter, which is what most of the viewers here are going to be, right? Most of the Miniature Monthly fan base are painters. What are they looking at when they see this? When they're seeing this contrast that you're offering? One, how do you recognize that? What are you looking for if you see somebody else's sculpt? And you're identifying where they have placed that contrast. How do I identify that as a painter?
So as a painter, I first go into things thinking, is this design cohesive? Is the overall picture that they're presenting, does it make sense? Or are there just too many different ideas here to make sense of it? So you definitely want to avoid confusion, right? You don't want there to be you don't want to get lost in the weeds in terms of your design language.
So first you're evaluating if the overall piece is worth painting beyond just, oh, this looked cool, so I picked it up. You're evaluating, okay, so this looked cool, I picked it up, now let me see if the elements are cohesive. What do I look for to determine if I'm looking at this model? What am I looking at? What am I looking for? What do you mean by cohesion?
So a piece of advice that I got from Chris Lewis, which is good both as a painter, as a DM picking minis, and as a sculptor making them, is what is the story here? If you're able to look at a miniature and tell me what their story is, and that doesn't have to necessarily be what we decide, like what we have decided she is, right?
What we, meaning the sculptor?
We, like me and you specifically, like doesn't have to be are we communicating everything about our lore in this
Oh, I
miniature?
see. Yeah. Okay.
That's largely irrelevant. What you want to be able to do is when someone sees this in out of context of us, right? Is it interesting? Is there a story that people can pick up on? And I think the transitions in this model and in the others, which I can pull that up, the other figures for our set for next month. So we have our, okay, Zbrush. We have our water nymph, our 2 dryads, and our garden nymph.
Yeah.
So we want to think about like visual storytelling, right? The garden nymph is interacting with this little bee. Her posing is very kind of
Dainty.
carefree and dainty and feminine. Her body shape is overall kind of bubbly. Her hair shapes are also bubbly. Everything about her is very like large and round and kind of soft like a flower. Which communicates exactly what I want, which is that she tends to flower. She spends her days frolicking in gardens and talking to bees.
Which is obvious both by the costuming and the shapes you've chosen for the model.
Right.
Okay.
So then we move over to our dryads. Now the story with the dryads is that they want to entice men or travelers to come in and have relations with them and be able to propagate, spread their seed to other dryads. So they need to be inviting, very sexually inviting to passersby. They need to be the tree, right? They can't just be like a woman sitting on a tree. They need to be the tree.
Right.
And they need to be offering something, right? In order to get something. So in this first one in Ambrosia, which I kind of modeled after an apple tree, she has this hand gesture where she's offering out the apple.
Very symbolic.
As an enticement, come eat. Like, I have things to give you.
Mm-hmm.
And Odessa being less direct in terms of fruit is more the demure, like, come get me, playful side of this interaction. This one based on peaches.
Right. And so shape language wise or cohesion wise, you're just looking for everything to match. Nothing is a jarring. There's not a sword shoved into the sculpt.
There's no thorns. There's no like spiky bits.
No rot in the tree. It's all.
Though even the lines that I used for Ambrosia's tree are different from what I did for Odessa. I viewed Ambrosia as like a more direct kind of woman. She's like her face is a little more angular. Her eyes are a little more angular. And so in the lines, the texture of the tree, I made kind of these little sharper edges. Overall, it's still very flowy, but there's a slight bit of sharpness as opposed to Odessa's. And Odessa's is all very like arches, rounded arches. Hopefully you can see that, but it's just kind of like a very subtle shape language difference. If you see the lines in Ambrosia's thigh here, where there's like the line breaks and then starts up again, but because it breaks and starts again, there's like a sharp point at each other.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
Whereas in Odessa's thigh area, everything is still very rounded. It's all interconnected. It's all very like flowing.
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
lower part of the trunk, Ambrosia's has like a sharper, more straight lines, whereas Odessa's have this concentric arches that go up the trunk.
Mhm.
So it's just very subtle differences, but hopefully helps to communicate and match the personalities a little more directly.
Okay, so let's say I have deciphered this code. I have found the shapes and the lines, and I've figured out kind of what they meant, and I've decided, yes, these aspects support the story that this miniature tells, which is a story I want to tell in my game or incorporate into my game. As a painter, going back to this model, how do I capitalize on this knowledge that I've just gained, right? I've found and identified these base components of the model that I've selected. I want to win gold competitions. Right, where's my golden demon, even though they don't have golden demon anymore? How do I capitalize on this information as a painter?
So the first step is definitely establishing your color palette. You want to pick colors that either reinforce the shape language that you've found, the story that you've found within the figure, or undermine it. Those are your two options. So, as an example, let's say I painted this figure, this water nymph figure that I'm working on, with the same color palette that I did for the garden nymph, the pinks and kind of sage greens.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, this texture stops reading like water as much as maybe leaves or some kind of like other plant texture.
Yeah, the green is already taking it that way a little bit for me, so I see what you're saying.
So it would undermine the shape language that I've already built in, which is watery, right? So if you want to support that, then picking more watery colors will enhance that. Placement is also pretty important, right? I'm making these transitions between the more human parts of her body or parts that I want you to view as human versus the more elemental parts that I'm transitioning more into the blues.
So right now you have a lot of green on this, but that won't stay that way. That green will be tempered to more of a blue as you continue to work on the color palette.
Yeah, I think this current color palette that I've picked is a little too oceany. It's a little too deep sea blue because the dark blues are like really, really dark blues.
And then the light colors like on her torso.
And the light colors
yellow.
the light colors get a little more like turquoisey green into the yellow. Which is fine, especially if you wanted to use this as like an ocean nymph, you could use it that way. But I think for her and the story we want to tell with her, I want to pick colors that are a little more shallow water, a little more like river water.
Like light blues and baby blues.
Yeah.
Bryce says he was thinking ocean too. He likes it.
Yeah, I think right now it's communicating a little too much ocean, more than I want it to.
Bryce says she is not shallow.
She's not shallow, okay?
So if you were working on the ocean nymph that we have planned,
this would be a great palette for the ocean nymph. In fact, I might even make this a little more blue, because greens in the water don't tend to be like deep sea colors. When I think of like really deep sea colors, I'm also kind of thinking of like oceans in Alaska, like almost Arctic water.
yeah,
That kind of blue really reads as like a deep sea blue to me. Whereas the more aqua greens, turquoisey colors are more like Caribbean blue. It's more of like a shallow, islandy kind of blue.
which also could work for our ocean nymph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, again, like the colors that you're picking tell a story in and of themselves, especially in water, right? Because the color of water in a specific place is very recognizable to a lot of people.
Bryce says Tahoe is green. And speaking of shallow, Stacy is not available on this stream.
You are correct, sir.
Okay, so I'm looking at the overall shapes and not necessarily focusing on the shapes as a painter. I'm looking at the shapes, I'm looking at the model, I'm looking at the lines and the flow of the piece and the posing and ensuring that all of that matches the story that we're trying to tell. And once we've identified that story, we then want to come in and figure out how we want to either supplement or alter that story when selecting our palette.
Right. Yeah, and the palette lets you get really specific in terms of what you want to say with the piece. I think it's probably one of the hardest and most fun parts of a project, is picking the palette. I think Bryce would probably agree that it's the hardest. I don't know that he agrees that it's the most fun, but I do.
Right. Anything that has to do with color, that's your favorite.
Yeah.
Which is ironic that you ended up working primarily in a medium that is colorless.
Yeah, I know, right? I had to make it be colorful for me.
I think it pays off, right? The work you do to paint these models, I think pays off in the long run.
I hope so. This shape isn't working. It's not like following the flow. I had thought originally that, okay, so when I first did this piece, I thought it'll just be a splash. And then I was like, well, but I'll bring it down here and reconnect it to the main wave so it's more structurally sound because it's hanging out there kind of. And now I'm thinking both of these ideas don't really work.
Well, I think first off is I would take her left leg, and we already brought it out some, but I would bring it out further.
Oh, I brought it out a lot.
I know. I'm looking at the original in my hand here and what we didn't like about the test print. I would bring it out. I would bring it out more, like she's balancing herself almost like on a horse or something. I'll give her that skydiving almost pose. And I think that's going to offer some composition options for the base. Her left leg, to be clear.
Oh,
I saw you masking. I was like, wait a minute.
was my left.
Her left, yeah.
Like that?
Let me see. A little more. Rotate the blue circle.
I just did, like
Yeah,
3 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's better. Now, previously, you had the calf being primarily water, but now that leg is far away from where that water was. So that's going to have to be reintegrated, right? You had that really cool, you had this really cool swoosh back here that what used to read as her calf turning into water, but now it's separated from the bottom of her knee. So that will have to move over.
Yeah.
Bryce says, I wish color was fun. I struggle. It is real.
I think one day it's just going to like click for you. And then you'll be geeking out with me.
Now, I don't think here that the calf needs to continue quite on the same outward kick. Like that can rotate back in a little bit for the calf, or it can continue in that direction. But I think my mental picture for this would be the calf would rotate back this way. Yeah, like that. I don't know how far. I don't know what will be ideal for that, but right when people are skydiving, their calves almost go up, and the ankles angle towards each other. And I think that we can have some fun with those water flowing shapes to imply levity and kind of pick on that a little bit, right? Because you know what that pose is. If you picture a skydiver, their arms apart, their knees apart, their calves up and kicked back towards each other, we all know that person is skydiving. That's mental imagery that's ingrained in our minds. And I believe we can capture that, capitalize on that to imply a little bit of speed, a little bit of momentum, and a not grounded feeling. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't really tie directly into shapes, right? That's tapping into the shared, trained, subconscious imagery that we share culturally. Yeah. If you were to share that same image 300 years ago, nobody had been skydiving before, so that pose would not have created any of that imagery. And now it's become very iconic, so it's a very cultural image.
For sure, yeah.
But that all matters, right? You have to factor that in when you're creating something.
I always feel like on figures like this, like nymphs or dryads or elementals or any of these kind of like humanoid but not human type characters, there's like this awkward How do you handle genitalia? Both like just as human instinct, just like people are gonna look, so you have to decide. But also just like as a sculptor, you have to think like, am I Barbie dolling this? Am I just like glossing over it? Am I hypersexualizing it or just being too realistic in the uncanny valley area? Like, I don't know. There's like a, how uncomfortable do I want it to be? It's a thing.
I guess that depends on whether you're sculpting for yourself, Doom Guardians, Reaper, or you go full tilt Kingdom Death, right?
Right.
Sculpting for us, we've historically gone not quite that far. I like where we sit on that. There's stuff that's shown. We're not afraid that if the composition requires that something be visible, then we're going to go ahead and let that be visible. But we're also not, well, there are no penis snails in our lineup.
I just mean like it's a topic you have to deal with at some point.
Mm-hmm. I think the jagged edge there is reading much more like bark than water. I think rather than coming to a point, maybe wrap around, right? Like let that line continue and swirl. Right now you've got this coming up almost like a piece of coral or a piece of bark. But if that swoops around the model and goes into her back, maybe then it'll read more as...
I wanted to come like forward like a hip bone, but I don't want to create too much of a difficult ledge to like get in to paint.
Yeah, I just mean instead of going up and directly to a hip bone and then stopping sharp there, coming up to the hip bone and swooping back around, having that line be a curve, a flowing piece of water rather than a sharp line ending in a point. You already have this beautiful swoop coming from her left breast down to her right hip. So I think if you go up, make the hip bone out of a curve going around her back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not going to be the silhouette.
Well, I think you can still have that silhouette. So like come right out of the groin area, up, make your hip bone, and then go back around. A little more of a steep angle, I suppose. That's close to what I meant. You're doing it as an indentation. I'm picturing that line being a protrusion, but yeah, that's more flowy. It's so hard to communicate these things with words, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're over there like, what the hell do you mean?
Like, what are you talking about?
When we looked at those, we looked at some water elementals and stuff, and obviously those are a little too rough waters. I loved that they looked like a water spout. I think we can take a little bit of that here, that water spout flow, that vertical ring around the model.
What?
You're too focused to hear what I'm saying. That's okay. You do you.
I'm listening. I just don't know. I don't know how you mean.
Okay, so we looked at those. We looked at several images of water elementals. And the ones we really liked, the legs and the torsos looked like spinning water spouts. Like a ring, like a screw, but with very wide threads.
So you want to make her torso a screw?
I think using that just a little bit for that hip bone, like the one line on a screw going up and into her back and wrapping up and around. Like if you wrapped a string around a pencil, right? You just kind of very loose loops.
Okay.
I don't want to push it too far because I really want to reserve most of that for the ocean spirit, right? We really want to push that hard for that one, but a hint of that here could go a long way to giving you what you're trying to get out of the hip bone, but still look watery. Yeah. So that was my thought. Implement or don't implement. The undo button is right there. I'm not married to the idea or anything. It just was a pitch.
Yeah.
I love the little bubbles, for the record.
Yeah, aren't they cute?
This is the first time I've seen you really use different materials for different subtools.
Yeah, I don't do it very often. Mostly because I don't ever want to feel like I'm not communicating. You wouldn't have to like make something out of true metallic to make it look like metallic, right?
Yeah.
Something doesn't have to be truly translucent for you to make it look translucent. So a lot of times I avoid changing the material of something because I don't want to be lazy about making sure that the form supports.
Yeah. You want it to be
Paint.
intuitive how you're going to paint it, and you want
Yeah.
the effect of your render to be something you can achieve with painting, or you've removed
Not done my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a test paint.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I've seen, I think, with regards to Bryce, I think the implementation of color has so many variables. It's really hard to get your head around all those pieces.
Yeah.
Right? It's just this massive, massive library full of information that's available on color. And it's really easy to screw up, both in aesthetics and in
Application.
concept, right? Like what you're conveying with the color and then also making it look good. That's two very, very, very different entire schools of thought, right? It's like color theory and feng shui. They're not the same thing, even a little bit. They have nothing to do with each other. But if you're trying to make your house nice and comfortable and inviting, you need both of those implemented well. And I think trying to make something look good and convey what you want it to convey with the colors, those are two very separate things. And I think a lot of people want them to be integrated, but they're just not. You can use one. You can use the look good to accent or highlight or facilitate the message you're trying to send with your colors. It's just a different thing. It's completely different library of knowledge.
That's fair, yeah.
So you have an in-depth knowledge of both of these libraries. So from your perspective, it's just obvious what the choices would be. I can check this boxes of this school of thought and check these boxes of this other school of thought. And these are the colors that work well in both of those schools. And you're not having to think about that. You're not having to play with that. You're not having to dwell on that overly long. It's just, well, these are the 5 options for this one. These are the 2 options for this one. And this is the color palettes that overlap. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
And then you start to get even more complicated because, okay, you've got a variety of palettes that communicate water, but now you want to communicate not too volatile. You want to communicate more cunning and calm and, the slow erosion effect rather than the beat you with a storm effect. And that's going to have a different set of colors than the beat you with the storm effect will. So now you've got an additional set of criteria. You're compiling all of these in real time, and you don't see a problem or a challenge in that anymore. You're suffering from that effect where you've gotten so much knowledge on this for so long since you were a little kid that you're not seeing how challenging that is for everyone else.
No, that's fair. And there's a lot of times where, like, when you get really, really good at something, you just do it out of intuition. You no longer have to, like, break it down and analyze it. You just intuitively pick something. Like cooking. If you get really good at cooking and you taste something and you're just like, I mean, this is going to need a little bit more water or milk, or this is going to need a little extra butter.
Or I've got this spice that I bought 2 years ago that's going to go perfect in this. This is going to give exactly the right contrast to that other flavor, which neither of us are that good at that, by the way.
No, I'm not that good at that. But I've seen people who do that, and I've developed enough cooking skill where I can manage the different things. Like, oh, I'm going to be pairing it with these flavors, so I'm going to add some extra of this. Or I know this pan, and this pan always pulls to this side, so I'm going to do this. Like, you start to learn your tools and the different elements that you're working with so intuitively that you just pick the right things. And so I do that a lot with color. I've worked with it so much that I know those tools really well and I can pick it very intuitively. But even then, there's still times where I have to break it down. I have to think about it.
Well,
there's pieces where it's difficult, and I have to. I'll get too conflated. I'll have too many ideas going in my head that I've made selections for, and then I have to pare it back down and be like, okay, wait, what is the point? What is my message? Where am I confusing this? How am I getting off track here?
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Too many things going on. So dropping it back down to the essential message, which in miniature painting, like, it's a good tool for teaching artists that, honestly. I think even no matter what venue of artist you're planning on going into, painting miniatures or things of this scale, the limited canvas size means limited things you can communicate. I think Disney's Tinkerbell is the embodiment of this concept, right? Which is that she can only feel one thing at a time. She can't have more than one emotion. She's not big enough, which is absolutely true when you're not for Disney's Tinkerbell, because they can make her as big as they want. But in the theater, she's just a blinking light. Right. You can only do so much with a single color blinking light that's flashing at different speeds or whatever else and moving around at different speeds. You can't communicate angry, sad, and remorseful all at the same time. A person can communicate all of those things, but a blinking light just can't.
Yeah. Miniatures have a very similar limitation in that in my skill set, I have limited myself to communicating about 3 things with with a figure. That is about the extent where I feel like it's successful. I do try to put more things than that into a figure, but I don't expect them to be able to be understood.
Right.
I'm not relying on those things for people to understand the character. They're just extra additions that I put in for my own sake. But that's some of
up
that
from
is
1 to
definitely
2 from like 5 years ago, where you had to limit yourself to 1, maybe 2 ideas. Being able to get a third idea in there, that's a pretty big growth point, right?
Yeah, that's why I say, like, for my skill set, like, Bob and Julie can probably communicate a lot more than that than I can, because they've been doing it a lot longer and they know how to do that
Right.
with more skill than I do. But for my skill set, I limit myself to about 3 main concepts.
Well, that's an important point too. No matter how long you're doing something, there's always room to grow. I think Bob and Julie are fantastic examples of that. They've been growing at their craft and their skills consistently. They keep pushing themselves. They're always pushing themselves. They always have been, which is why they will always be at the top of the game. That's never going to not be the case.
Yeah.
Because even though you might learn 2 new things based off of what they knew last year when they shared with you what they learned then,
we're going to get a ReaperCon. They're going to have like 5 new things. Like,
right.
Okay.
Right. And so you might grow in one way, they'll grow in another, but they have decades of dedicated practice to this craft. And to assume you would be where they're at after half a decade would be silly, right? That's just not how life works. You've got to keep trudging along on it. And eventually you can reach the point where those differences in skill sets become so marginal that they're not noticeable. But that's after you've been doing it for decades also. Not 5 or 6 years.
And also, like with any skill set, the more you learn about it, the less improvement shows.
Right.
It's less easy to see vast improvement when you've been doing it for longer, because the improvement is more subtle or nuanced. So the visibility of that is like a little harder.
Yeah, you don't notice it quite as much at first glance anymore. You might notice it. I think one of the areas where Bob and Julie excel, that we've made a point that this year we're going to work on for you, is paintability, right? How much just every possible scrap of improvement that you can find to make a model a more enjoyable experience to paint. But not every improvement is more enjoyable, because there are other aspects of paintability, not just how fun and enjoyable it is to paint, which you've put a lot of work into, but also if I'm painting this for a competition, how do I enable the painter? How do I make my model a better choice? How do I help them show off their skill set? How do I help them win by selecting my model? And that's complicated. That's not as easy or abstract as it sounds, right? There are definite directions to push something for that. Now, if you can make it both, where it's just really fun to paint and also really great potentially for competitions, hey, that's great. But that's very hard to do.
Yeah, trying to accomplish both is challenging.
And if you're looking for pieces to study on how to do that, well, conveniently, Bob and Julie have a large library of models, which that's one of our first go-to places is Jason Wiebe, Bob and Julie in particular. They put their hearts and souls into everything they do, and they're so knowledgeable in their craft that it shows. And Miniature Monthly says, I love the bubbles.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
How are you? Yay, bubbles! I was actually like debating whether I should bring the bubbles down into the lower parts of the piece, and I have not decided yet.
No.
I don't know. Just leave it in the hair.
You could put a cup. Maybe you wanted to put one on the very tip of this forward piece here, but I don't think so. I like the bubbles up around her hair and in the top part of the model because I think it conveys potentially depth.
I could put it like one right here.
I wouldn't put it that low. Like if I were to do it, I'd put it way up here. Because this conveys a stillness. For that bubble to be stuck there, now it looks like the bubble's stuck on a thing, and the rest of them all look like they're floating. And I don't know that you're going to be able to adequately capture that in the base of the model. I think I just like it in the top part. I think it says
It's like a little phallic. I don't like it.
And if you bought this model and it wasn't metallic colored, you would not know that that was a bubble. It would just look like a weird thing. I would leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's good. You've already got it. This is one of those where the more you touch it, the worse it'll get. Miniature Monthly says, good. This morning has gotten away from me. At least I can watch the replay. Bubbles in the nostrils? Leave it to Miniature Monthly. But yeah, so I think you can always grow. And this applies to everything in life, but hobbies and art is an easy way to see that. There's always a new place to go, a new skill to work on, a new aspect to work on. And usually, those things aren't things you were even aware existed years ago.
Yeah.
And then that's when you wind up with, your stuff just has it. I don't even know how to describe it. It just has it. It's there. It's it. It. Well, it isn't chance. It isn't magic. It is lots of thought and effort and care put into
Steady.
put into how or why something is the way it is. It's not accidental. Ooh, some choppiness there for a second, but the stream held up. Cool. It got blurry, but then it came back. I really love this whole set. You should show Miniature Monthly, the collection. So this one isn't completed in the collection set yet. Obviously, we're still working on it, and there will be 2 more. We still have to do the Cloud Nymph and the Man-Eater Nymph, the Venus flytrap one.
Yeah, hang on, let me save this before it crashes.
Always a good thing to do.
So as far as our monthly release, this is Thalia. She's a garden nymph. She helps the flowers grow and she helps the bees make their honey. And they are very, very productive bees in Honeyvale. They make lots and lots of very special honeys.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our 2 dryads, Ambrosia and Edessa, which are fruit trees, apples and peaches. And then obviously the water nymph we're working on now, which this is not her name, but we hadn't decided on a name yet. And then this is Lunette in Estrella, but she is going to be our loyalty reward for being a triber for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
This one, this one was a really challenging piece. I had the idea for it, the vision for it, and I knew what I wanted to do, but implementing it was very challenging. And I can't tell you how many days I spent sculpting leaves alone. It was exhausting.
A lot of days on leaves. Yeah.
It's a lot of leaves.
A lot of leaves.
But I'm really happy with how she came out, and we're gonna be sending those out to our loyalty reward people soon. And I want to make a not safe for work version where I invert their personalities. So like right now she's really soft and sweet and the snake is aggressive. And I wanted to do like a not safe for work version where she has more of an aggressive expression, a more direct like head placement, but then the snake is more passive and docile. But we'll see if we if we get to that. There's a lot of projects on the plate currently, and we are behind as it is. So this is where it is for now.
It's coming. We will be doing that at some point. We'll have them at ReaperCon that way. I'll make sure that happens. I will tie you to your chair if I have to. Oh, I wanted to put this together really quick. These are not all zenithal primed, but you can show off. Miniature Monthly was talking about your book boxes. So I grabbed one of our production pieces.
Here's our new retail packaging. This is what I spent the better part of the month engineering and designing and printing and reprinting and test printing and fixing. It's a laborious process, but super happy with how it came out. This is the 3D shadow box kind of cover art. The setting is in Embermore. We have the little Embermore logo down here at the bottom.
Hold that a little closer to your camera if you can. It's
sorry. Can you see it?
Yeah. Tilt it sideways and stuff so people can see the depth to the shadow box.
This way.
Probably, yeah.
Your stream is lagged.
It probably is. Okay, there we go. I can see now. Yeah, like that. So you can see in person it even looks better. There's a lot of depth to it that the camera doesn't really pick up. But
yeah. And then obviously it says the name of the set. This one is The Trouble in Witherberg, which comes with the whole adventure module and all the stat blocks and everything for the characters and the monsters. Our logo and the name of the setting, which is Embermore. Then we have this cool page texture for the side of the box. And then when you open it up, there's a custom mold for each of the figures to sit in this kind of flexible rubbery filament, which holds them really securely, but if they're painted or whatnot, like it doesn't scratch it up. It's pretty forgiving.
They're slightly more snug than we thought was ideal, but it does hold them very well. And I wouldn't put a freshly painted model there, but one that the paints had time to
sealed.
You're in good shape.
If it's sealed, that's fine.
Particularly if you seal it. Yeah, throw a nice clear coat on it. Okay, so catching up, Miniature Monthly says the box you guys printed was amazing as well. Love these new minis. The Captain Hook is awesome too. Says, I see your eye twitching. Now that was one of your, not one of your first minis, but when we decided to make our own set, our own stuff, you took a few models that you had made that other people didn't want, that didn't match their lines, right? Like Gabby the Scrappy Gnome and a few others. And you had some pirates you'd sculpted and pitched to Reaper, but they were a little too Disney-esque. But you liked that, and so we decided not to redo them and sell them redone. We just wanted to sell them ourselves, keeping that little bit of a Disney vibe to it. Those are all part of our welcome package, all those Captain Hook and the Neverland Pirates and Peter Pan. That's all part of the, if you print minis, that's all part of the welcome package.
Yeah, you can get those for free, basically.
We were just talking about how to, since it's a painting stream primarily, we were talking about how to analyze a sculpt for tips on how to allow the sculpt to inform your painting. How to select a model, what to look for, and then
Yeah, maybe you have some more to offer on that front in terms of like if you're shopping for a competition piece or just a fun piece to paint, what are you looking for and how much of the established design do you try to support with the paint versus like undermine or change? I would think that there's like a threshold for how much you feel capable of changing. If a model isn't everything that you want it to be, you're like, well, this and this and this don't really fit what I was thinking, but I can address that versus, and that would depend on your skill level, I would assume, versus just like, this isn't exactly what I need, I can't do it.
That's me. The model has to be exactly what I need, and if I slather it with a paintbrush, it needs to look good. Miniature Monthly says, a model with good details and good production value. Don't try to make a crappy model good. It's not worth the fight. Mm-hmm.
That's really good advice, yeah.
Miniature Monthly says, great mini with a great paint job equals awesome. That's fair. It's fair. I mean, you're only going to be able to impress so much by taking a turd of a model and painting it as nicely as is humanly possible. You could paint a god tier paint job on a turd of a model and it will be good.
Yeah. And people might go, wow, you really did a lot with that. But it's not going to be like the best entry you could have.
Nobody's going to want to put that on the cover of their magazine because it's still a crappy model.
Right.
Look how well this guy painted this species. It's so good. Maybe not. Valandar says, afternoon all.
Hey, Valandar.
I figure we gotta get weird because it's Miniature Monthly stream, right? Gotta get a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is they are going to or have painted that banana suit thing, so I don't know. I think they can do anything. You can take any kind of turd of a model and make it look cool.
Valandar typed in that he redeemed 1 minute plank for 1,000. Wrong stream.
Can't do it to me this time, Valandar.
Miniature Monthly says he used it for 2 of his classes at Adepticon.
Really? What did you use it for? Did people think it was just hilarious, or were they like, why would you pick this model?
Wet blending, which actually that's a pretty good idea for that one.
Wet blending.
Long,
okay.
Flat surface areas. It's got a little bit of curve to them. Bryce says, I already wanted to do Stacy. No go.
Bryce, I think you should paint a Stacy figure. That should be your Reaper entry. Because we all know that you're going to be way too much of a stickler for perfection to enter the one you've been working on. So you should switch gears Do a Stacy one for funsies.
Mm-hmm. Minish Monthly says, yeah, very narcissistic, LOL. And Bryce wants to know, what is the Stacy Mini?
Oh, I don't know. You gotta find one, man.
He also wants to know how Banana Aaron was received. Valandar, Banana Aaron. It was a present that the Miniature Monthly crew commissioned
for Aaron and Liz.
Valandar says, I'm kind of grumpy right now, waiting on word back from no less than 3 clients. Ooh, that hurts.
Oh. Yeah, that's rough.
Miniature says, I didn't realize how long we would spend on my crotch, LOL. People loved the banana me.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
This amuses me.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's quite amusing. Valandar says he needs to see Banana Aaron.
Okay, hang on. Let me save this. I'll pull it up.
Miniature Monthly says that was not the intent of the class, but funny nonetheless. Were people taking reference pictures, Aaron?
They're like, hey, this guy looks like you.
Whole new meaning to a certain kind of pics, right? He says, that was not the intent of the class, but funny nonetheless. You really nailed both of us. I hope so. You spent a lot of time on those.
They're like, hey, these cargo shorts. What color should these sandals be? Oh, just look. Aaron's already wearing them. This was Banana Aaron.
Bryce wants to know, can you zoom in on the crotch, please?
Need to get a really good look at the crotch.
Miniature Monthly says, oh, wow, I look amazing. And Bryce said, good gads, that looks so much like him.
Yeah, see, I kind of cheated because I had already sculpted Aaron's head for Drosselmeyer for the Nutcracker release for last December. But he had like all these gadgets and stuff, and I had given him like a different hairstyle. So he didn't really look like Aaron, but I had sculpted Aaron's face already.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just gotta give him another eye because I had taken out the eye for the other one. I was like, just have to give him a second eye and like fix the facial hair, and I already have his face done. Liz, I had to start from scratch though.
You redid most of it because he's not smiling.
Yeah,
in the other one. True. So that you might have already had the face, but you pretty much redid it. I'm really excited about this nymph set. Aaron says Liz was perfect, just an amazing sculpt. I really liked how that one came out.
It was so like I've had some bad art directors in the past, but when you start taking direction from like a bunch of hooligans and they're just like, put Liz in like an evening dress on a shot glass with a pickle with a like, I don't know what. There was like some idea where she had like a sombrero or something, and I was like, okay, guys, we gotta like narrow this down. Like, what are the key features we need?
Aaron wants to know if that's the first pickle you've sculpted.
Yes, first and only pickle.
Sort of. It's the first literal pickle. Like, Christy has a technique for getting past artist's block when she's on a piece that we developed for her years ago. She knows where I'm going with this.
In regards to sculpting pickles.
Yes. There was a model she was working on. It was back in clay. She was super stressed out about it. She went like 2 weeks without even touching it. She was so afraid of messing it up. And
in clay, that's a lot more substantial, okay?
I was like, finally, I was like, look, you've just got to start. You just got to get past not starting. So I told her to sculpt not a pickle, but just roll up a chunk of clay, stick it on the crotch of the model, and laugh. And she did. And it brought her past it where she could start working on it. Now, anytime she gets super stuck on a model, she just gives it a pickle and laughs for a second and then is able to move on. Let's see. Bryce says CVP can only do 3 things. Well, I'm super curious to hear what those are now. Miniature Monthly, he says. Aaron says, Miniature Monthly members are crackheads. That's why we love them.
Yeah.
And Valandar says, so if a tribe of greenskins sang all the time, would they be an orcapella group?
Get out of here.
Aaron says it's all about the moose knuckle. Yeah, we're so far behind this month. These should already be ready to release tonight. We've got 3 of them test printed, 3 more models to go. This one and 2 more. So
stop stressing me out.
We're catching up, though. We spent a lot of this month developing that book box.
It took a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Those are going to be 129, we decided. But you can get them on the... You've got like 20 slots where you sell them for 50. So for people that really want them on the regular, there's a way. Might have to drop that count down. Might be too many. That's a lot to produce for 50 apiece.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to put them together.
Sorry. Oh, Bryce says she said for each model she limits it to 3 things, unlike Bob and Julie. I don't know how many Bob and Julie limit it to. I'm not even sure they still think that way. They're just like, let's tell a cool story. Some of their models you can just sit down and read like a dang book. You're like, oh, and this is this. Oh, this is cool. And then this is, oh. So they're like, it just goes on and on and on. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Valandar says, give them instruments and they'd be an orchestra. And Aaron says, if you ever want a good laugh, Google moose knuckle.
No.
I'm not going to do that.
Terrible advice. Why'd you say that?
Have you already Googled moose knuckle? Do you already know what this is?
He's sweet. We love him.
Oh, she's coming together really nicely. I do like that all of these honestly could fully be used for Ganassi. Like this would make a great water Ganassi.
That's true. And man, there are not enough Ganassi figures out there. I have tried a few times to play Ganassi characters, and There's like never any good models for it. But she would be a cool Ganassi character.
I think she needs a little more of a bump under that leaf-looking patch on her right butt cheek. So her left butt cheek is very well deformed. The right one is a little flat in that area. Which, interestingly, the color disguises. As soon as you turn the color on, it looks fine. So when you turn the color off, that it flattens out a little. That's weird. I suppose that further emphasizes the need to toggle back and forth between the color version of the model, huh?
Well, I mean, I just adjusted it also, so.
Oh, okay. Balandar says, a lot of Water Ganassi figures, Triton figures, and Sea Elf figures are pretty much interchangeable.
Yeah. That's fair. I still go back to there's not a lot of good ones.
Mm-hmm. They exist, just not.
Derek Schubert has a couple of good ones, but
Man, that's a given. You want to talk about somebody who puts a lot of time into their work. Derek Schubert's like, yeah, I sculpted 3 things this year. But that's not because he didn't have time to sculpt. It's because he spent weeks on each figure.
Yeah.
Just so meticulous.
Yeah, he's crazy.
It's okay. It works out for the rest of us because we get to buy them, right? Balandar says, Earth and Fire are hard to find. Air Ganassi are pretty much 1 in a million. Most people have no idea how to give them an air look.
Oh, well. Well, I did 4 air girls for Reaper for the Last Bones Kickstarter. And I'm doing a cloud nymph for this set. So I got your air girls covered.
Which air girls did you do for the Last Bone set?
Oh, it was so cool. I did a set of 4, and they represented the 4 winds. And so.
Oh, that's right.
There was like, I also based them on seasons. So like the winter one looks like she has like clouds made out of like a big cloak.
Yeah, I remember
and then the autumn one looked like she was kind of spinning like leaves. Yeah, they were super cool. I freaking love those.
I forgot all about
figures.
Those. And you did those Kelpies.
Yeah, the
those
Kelpies
are really cool too.
But they're like made of seaweed.
Did the Kelpies make the cut? I don't remember seeing them.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, they're in there.
They were awesome. Did we bill him for the Kelpies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's already paid for them. Yeah, in fact, Andy Pieper said that when he saw the East Air, the spring air girl, that it made him cry because it reminded him exactly of the first warm day of spring when the air just hits you. And I was like, oh.
Boy, he was having an emotional day. Valandar wants to know, and what about air guides?
I did male fairies. That's all you get.
Yeah. Did those make it?
Ooh.
I don't think those.
Maybe. They might be in a Kickstarter update. I don't think they put it in like the main graphic, but I think they might have been in the Kickstarter update.
Maybe.
Because I did send them in bill for them, so.
Yeah. And you had them at ReaperCon, so you're not spoiling something.
It made me feel bad there for a second. I was like,
Balandar Valandar says, my DM has just realized how dangerous it will be to have me playing a geeky paladin, as in he's dangerously genre savvy.
I think any DM who did not know what they were getting into when you joined their game should have done their homework.
But a fourth wall breaking paladin. That's an interesting character.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, I love this splash right here. This is some classic Art Nouveau. Look at that.
Price wants to know if Valandar's DM is allowed to speak when Valandar is there.
Only to do funny voices.
Valandar says, well, if the big baddie is monologuing, why wouldn't I throw a hammer at him?
That's fair. Prime time. All right, this right here is now officially my favorite splash.
I do feel like if you are genre savvy, then you also have to fall prey to the typical genre tropes. You got to let the bad guy monologue. That's part of it. Valander says, and normally I hang back and play support since the other players are pretty inexperienced, but we've been together since 2018, so I think I can be a bit more active.
Well, I should hope so by now. Jeez.
I think I would, same thing, like the lines on the leg, I think are really good, but I would rotate them slightly rather than just having them be linear. The same direction that we're rotating the one around our torso, like just a slight twist, licorice style.
Here or here?
Just going down this right leg here, right? They're kind of coming, the one that's lateral stays pretty lateral, and I think if these twisted just a little bit, I guess they are twisting a little bit, maybe just a little bit more. Valandar says, no, being genre savvy is recognizing the tropes and taking advantage of that. And he's an Oath of Ancients paladin, so starting at 7th level, he'll take half damage from all spells.
Ultimate min-maxer.
Bryce says, I am loving all this math talk, linear percentages, calculus, etc.
He's like, I came here for art, damn it.
Art is math.
Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something.
That's exactly where I was going, Matt. These are the reasons I love you.
Being an artist is pain, Highness.
Valandar says, golden triangle, rule of thirds, Fibonacci sequence. Yep. Bryce says, my favorite movie. Well, he said move, but I'm sure he meant movie. Quote, away.
Never go against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
That's exactly the quote I was reaching for, too. I was going to say Bryce's favorite movie is The Princess Bride. It's well known, but only slightly less known is never getting a quoting war with Christine on a stream. Eh.
It is debatably the best movie ever made. The only other contender is The Fifth Element.
It's so good.
And I can't pick. That's like picking between your children. Speaking of our children.
Are we coming up on time to go get them? No.
No. I was going to say tomorrow is Juniper's birthday. She's going to be 6. Well, technically, her birthday was on Tuesday, and she is already 6.
Mm-hmm.
But we're having her birthday party tomorrow for all of her friends from school.
Chuck E. Cheese's.
Where a kid can be even more obnoxious than usual.
Mm-hmm. Phalander says, people who can outquote Christine, I don't think they exist. Get slammed in the chest by a random quote. Bryce says, but the girl child is so cute, and that voice. That's fair.
Yeah.
She's got.
She has the cutest voice. Especially when she was like 2 and she could speak in complete sentences, but she still had that like 2-year-old voice. She'd just be like really high pitched.
Yeah.
Hey, mommy, can I do this?
But not, can I do this? Like, she's using multisyllabic words like,
I don't understand.
Yeah, she didn't start saying that till she was like 3. Before that, she understood everything.
Yeah, she was I gush about my kids, but she just got she just got nominated for the Gifted and Talented program. So stinking proud of her.
Look at these trees on the TV, Christy.
Whoa. They're like mushroom trees.
Mushroom trees. Yeah, that's so weird. Anyway, yeah, so the really creepy part about her, though, was she could speak complete sentences when she was 7 months old. And articulate well, like not baby talk speak. She was speaking in complete sentences at 7 months. And she's below weird. The 1 percentile for size. So we'd be pushing her around the grocery store. And here's this little tiny baby that looks like a newborn. She's like 5.5, 6 pounds.
Yeah, she is so tiny.
Yeah, and people would go over and go, oh, how cute. And she'd say, thank you, you're very pretty too. And the response people gave universally was just, whoa, that was creepy as hell. They're like, okay, you have a good day. Demon baby.
Yeah, I have one lady buy her a pillow because we were walking around the dollar store and she was just talk. That's all she ever did. And so I was just walking around the store and she's talking up a storm in her little tiny baby voice. And I'm dragging her around because she's like little. And this lady came up to me and she was like, your daughter is so cute. I said, oh, thank you. And she goes, thank you very much. And the lady was just like, okay. And then Juniper had asked me for a pillow. It was like this Minnie Mouse pillow. And I told her, I was like, no, I'm not buying you a pillow. It's not happening. You have plenty of pillows. And the lady came up to us while we were at the checkout, and she was like, I bought her this pillow because I just couldn't get over how adorable she was talking up a storm all the way through the store.
Yeah, that's not how that usually goes, right? Child's chalking up a storm in the grocery store, the dollar store. Everybody's irritated.
Yeah. Anyway, my cute little baby girl is now 6, and she has boys coming to her birthday party.
Not the boy she wants to come to her birthday party. He can't go.
She has boys that she wants to go to her birthday party.
Just one boy.
I don't like it.
Walker.
Stupid Walker. Stay away from Walker.
How well did that work when your parents used to tell you stuff like that?
Not at all.
The new painter says, boys, they're the worst.
They're the worst. They have cooties. They're not even smart at that age. Like, they don't get smart till they're like 30.
You think boys get smart when they turn 30?
At some point, they suddenly get wise about things.
I think we start the uphill climb to become smart at about 30. Bryce says, and little boys stink.
And have runny noses. What is with that? Why do they all have runny noses?
Millender says, this is weird. My cats are doing their time to go to bed dance outside my office door right now instead of at 2 a.m. That's weird.
I would just be like, well, then go take a nap.
Oh, speaking of birthday tomorrow, do we have cake planned?
They provide the cake.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, I had to pay for it. It was extra, but
oh, okay. Well, that's easy.
Yes.
Awesome. He says, no, it's a little thing they do when they want me to go to sleep so they can curl up and snuggle. Ah.
Well, then it sounds like you're being summoned.
Mm-hmm. So we might be getting a life-size version of the Poison Apple pub sign. Right? It's the sign up there in the.
I'm so excited about that.
It's the sign up there in the little splash demo for this month's release, right? So we might be getting a life-size version of that made.
For Reapercon.
Mm-hmm. Christy is so excited.
It's gonna be so cool. Okay, I've decided that I don't care about this hole here, so.
This hole?
Yeah, I was trying to preserve that hole, but
I don't think it helps anything specifically.
it wasn't super critical, and I decided it was not worth stressing about saving it.
The new painter says, speaking of ReaperCon, badges go on sale tonight.
Ah, so excited. Yeah, booth stuff goes on sale tonight, and I'm like anxious. I'm like waiting for it.
Yeah. Get our tickets. Get in line. Get swag. Cool stuff. We're actually putting models in the swag bag this year.
We started printing for that already because printing 1,000 copies of something takes a while.
Mm-hmm. But it will be Kataka.
Yeah.
You get Kataka in your swag bag when you show up, if you buy the swag bag.
There was like, I don't know, it was a little confusing what they're doing with the swag bag stuff, because they're not doing VIP stuff, but they are doing a swag bag.
Regular swag bag, yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna have like extra stuff for like the late night classers or kids swag bag. I assume I will be hearing about that if they do.
They usually do something for the kids.
Ron did say that he wanted me to work on some art for it, ReaperCon, so that would be cool.
Oh, ReaperCon art?
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but...
Well, the theme is dungeon dwellers, so probably not mermaids this year.
Probably not mermaids.
And probably not harpies.
Probably not. No.
Or squids. So we can rule those out.
We can probably rule those out.
That's fair. Yeah. You never know when he's going to want a mermaid harpy squid.
Yeah.
Watch, that's going to be the new Bones 7 thing that everybody asks for.
Mermaid harpy and squid.
Damn tower. We all want a mermaid harpy squid. The new painter says, dungeon squid. What is a dungeon squid? What does that look like?
It's like isn't that like a flump?
Maybe. Valander says, squid maids are the harpies of the sea.
Hey, I am down for some like octopus, squid inspired mermaids. I think those are the coolest. Or like sharks. Sharks or octopi mermaids are like the coolest.
So for the mermaid book box set, I really want to do 3 octopus mermaids as like the counterpoint to your mermaids. I think that would be such a cool set. The 3 mermaids and 3 octopus mermaids.
Oh. Okay.
I think that'd be so cool.
All right. No bearded mermaids, though. We're not.
No.
Doing any more bearded mermaids.
Unless they get you drunk enough at ReaperCon to agree to it again.
Yeah, I gotta watch it this year because I really haven't been drinking very much.
Valander says, hermit crab mermaid. Remove her borrowed quote-unquote shell, and there's the upper torso of a seal. For the ultimate in-house cleaning octomaid. Oh, that's a bad sound.
Yeah, I need some coffee.
You got too much to do today to be making those sounds. I will make you some coffee.
Coffee and a nap, maybe.
How about coffee and then more coffee? Gotta keep you at it. How about a 5-minute nap?
Okay.
You've actually really increased your ability to benefit from short naps. I know I had mentioned that to you a few months ago. Like, if you limit yourself to a 15-minute nap, you can actually get quite a bit out of it. And I was surprised that you took that advice and tried it. I really was expecting just kind of a dismissive, yeah, right, okay, whatever.
Okay, so Aaron, I'm going to have to ask you to teach a class on painting water effects. So you can use this figure. So people don't look at it and go, I have no clue how to paint this. So
Well, that's fair. This is going to be a rough one to paint. Not everything is easy, right?
No, this is not going to be. This will be an intimidating figure for a lot of painters, I think.
Well, I honestly think each of the models in this set are going to be a little bit intimidating. But I think they're all going to offer pretty great payouts to anybody who successfully tackles them.
Yeah, hopefully.
Most painting competitions factor in the difficulty of the sculpt, right? And I know the first time I heard that, I thought, oh, so the crappier the model, the better you can score. I think I have learned since then, and Aaron will have to correct me where I'm incorrect, because I'm sure I'm not 100% right, but things like this model would be a harder model to paint successfully. It's not a bad model, it's a great model, but pulling off this paint job is going to require more skill than painting a barmaid.
Yeah.
Your coffee is brewing, and I am catching up on chat. Balandar says, they just posted the winner of the Owl Bear Quarterly Reaper Contest, but some person who's never heard of named Kara won.
Yay, Kara! Yeah, she's been stressing about that too, watching the numbers, so she'll be glad to hear that.
Bryce says, Sugar Mama activate. Putting you to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miniature Monthly says, gonna have to learn that first. I'm not sure what he was referring to.
Water effects.
Water effects. Yeah. Balander says, wonders if Kara will ever paint an owlbear that is on fire. And Miniature Monthly says, I actually did water effects like that on the box art for Lizard from Marvel Crisis Protocol. But if you paint it lights out, it will probably score better than a standard simple figure. Two separate statements there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I want to see that. I'll have to look that one up. The
Marvel
Lizard.
Crisis Protocol?
Yeah, the one he painted for that. So I haven't seen that figure. I've seen a lot of the Marvel Crisis figures, but I don't think I've seen that one. We've been watching several different documentaries on Disney about they have all kinds of them, like on the theme parks and on the history and on the there's like a making of Frozen documentary that we just finished. It's like a whole documentary series on that, which is super cool.
Yeah, those were really good. The one thing I keep taking away from those series is that although I'm sure there's a lot of tears and heartache off screen, there's a persistence in spite of critical feedback that I think a lot of people don't fully appreciate, right? A lot of those things got redone 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and they just kept trugging away at it.
Yeah. Some of them were talking about how this, like a clip of animation can take like a really long time to make. So an animator can work for like a week and only make 2 seconds of actual film time. That is a lot of work to just throw out if they happen to rewrite a 5-minute scene or something. Like
3 seconds a day. Yeah. Is what
that's
they expect out of their
insane.
animators.
I
I'm
would
sorry,
be
no, 3
so
seconds a
heartbroken.
week. 3 seconds a week out of
Yeah.
nanometer.
I would be so heartbroken if they cut my scene after all that work. I'd just be like, why?
Let's see. Aaron says, Valandar said he's exploding out of a manhole with teal, green, blue sewage following him up and laughs. I guess that was because painting it like actual sewage wouldn't have been appreciated by the executives.
Oh man, now I gotta see this.
Aaron said he sent it to you via Messenger.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see it. Let's see it. Here we go. Oh, neat.
If you pull it up
Okay.
in front of Zbrush, we can all
I
probably see
did.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That came out super cool. Yeah, there's a lot of variation in the color there in the water. That's really neat.
He says
Oh, I
he thinks.
especially like this part here on the bottom where it gets to like the lime green.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
He says he thinks dirty water is much easier than clean. Yeah, you can see the bits of brown and stuff in there that are.
That's super cool though.
Yeah. Aaron says that's poop, just in case we weren't clear that it was water skid marks. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah.
Or dirt. No, we're going with poop. It was in the sewers. That's
Thank you for clarifying.
You're gonna want to move your browser back off of that.
I did.
No. Oh, okay.
Your stream is really.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was looking on the delayed one. Valandar says, really? It's not a blurry, drowning Ant-Man? This is coming pretty close to finished up, isn't it?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Pretty exciting. I think we've solved the two-dimensional issue, right? The test print was very 2D. Here's the test print if you want to hold it up to your camera.
Yeah. So had the front, but the like side to side it was pretty flat. And then the back was kind of cool, but yeah, just mostly like the front to back was really flat.
Yeah. So we cast her left elbow out a little bit. I guess we didn't actually do the left elbow too much, did we? Did a little, but not much. But mostly we brought that left leg out and to the side a little. Not too far, not as far as I was originally thinking, but I think it's working. And if it doesn't, we can swing it out a little more. No, I think that's better, honestly. Yeah. Gilded Lion Minis says, ooh, I can't wait to paint this mini. Good.
Yay.
It's going to be it's not going to be an easy one, right? But then
baby, I'm worth it.
few things worth doing are easy. Let's see. Gilded Lion Minis says, so I took Barone's Intro to Zbrush class this last week at Adepticon. It went well until we had to sculpt a skull, and my skull turned into something horrifying rapidly. I mean, skulls are kind of horrifying. So
What did it turn into?
Now, Christy has I'm very curious what it turned into. You've got a tier on Miniature Monthly for things like ZBrush tutorials, right? The same way as they do painting tutorials, you do ZBrush tutorials for Miniature Monthly. So there's a tier on their Patreon. I'm sure Aaron can give a link to that if you're looking for more ZBrush stuff. Miniature Monthly says, I like the way the figure looks. If anything, I would make the water go out wider on the sides. That being said, I think it's okay as it is. That's a fair point. A little more lateral splash.
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking I want to build something onto the base. Like leave this for the actual figure, but then once I get it based, I'll add some more like horizontal qualities.
Well, and that'll leave some opportunities for people to use alternative materials, like what you used for your siren for Reaper when you painted that for the MSP Open that Bryce showed you. The new painter told Gilded Lion Minis, I've made a few cursed skulls in my time. It's all part of growing. And Gilded Lion Mini says, it was cursed. It would be fun to learn, but I feel like I just lack the anatomy art background and don't have the time to commit to mini painting and sculpting.
Well, actually, new painter is probably a really good testament to that. I think you paint too, right, Noob?
Noob also paints. In my opinion, I think having a decent concept of sculpting empowers your painting. Like this, it's a lot like if you're a carpenter. If you know how foundations are built, even if you're not great at building them, you're going to be a better carpenter. You're going to have a fundamental understanding of what you need as a base for your structure. Or if you're a race car driver, having a basic understanding of how the car works is going to make you a better driver. The more you understand about the function of the car, the better you're going to be able to do. As a painter, the more you understand about how a model is created, how it's structured, even if you're not sculpting much yourself, you're going to be better informed and able to select models for painting that you might not have selected otherwise once you have that better understanding of why these artists are doing the things they're doing with the model. And you don't know that until you've put your hand to it a little bit. But I think there are lots of probably better ways to grow your painting skill than learning to sculpt. But when you reach that plateau, I think it's a good option to venture into. And the new painter says, on occasion, when juggling all the other hobbies.
That is the struggle, though. Like,
yeah.
I also have a lot of hobbies.
Valandar says, the reverse is true, too. Knowing how to paint can seriously improve your sculpting.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
We were just talking about that on Reaper's stream earlier. Well, Christy was. That knowing how to paint minis is obviously going to make you better capable at sculpting one. You're going to know when it comes to painting hair, what kind of hair is better to paint than other kinds of hair. How do you, if you're trying to do like an afro, how do you, of the afros you've painted, which ones were best? And maybe you even have like, none of these were good. They all should have been doing this. And then you can
make yours better.
Mm-hmm. Gilded Lion Minion says, someone let me win the lottery so I can retire and do both.
Yeah.
Something is still off about her right buttocks. It's too low compared to the left, I think. It looks disjointed. I think it just needs more.
I mean, is that bad?
More pillow on top of it.
Don't we want it to be kind of
It
not
looks
human?
Too much, I think. Yes, I think in this case it's bad. It's a little too far. Plus, there's a lot of not human in her legs. But you see what I mean? Like the left butt is much bigger than the right. and it just looks off. Let's be real. When people are looking for your minis, they want it to have a good butt. You've become famous for butt. Balandar says, Moonlight booty replacing Clocken booty. You did study a lot of Clocken booty. Aaron says, being too dumb to quit can help both painting and sculpting. Gilded Lion Mini says, oh, wait, I might understand sort of what's going on. Was that the move brush? Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about how you're accomplishing what you're changing right now?
Oh, sure, yeah. So yes, I'm using the move brush, and the way that it affects the model is both based on where your camera is and the brush setting itself. So you can see here as I grow the brush size overall, the outside circle is the area that it affects, and the inside circle is where the fall off is. So if I were to move this hand with a brush this size, it moves this whole kind of arm. If I make it smaller and it affects less area, it's only going to move this much. So by adjusting that, I can tailor my brush to what I need. If that makes sense.
It does. I think you're a little protruding a little too far back with the right leg, right butt. It's a better height and placement, but it's too sticky outy. But I do like that kind of alien waist to hips butt area ratio. Like it doesn't quite make sense. It still looks good, but it's giving it a very watery feel. I'm sure that's intentional because it's working. So I think you're getting a lot closer, if you're not already there, to that just alien enough while still reading good. While still reading well. Oh, I need to make your coffee. The coffee is made. I just have to add chocolate to it because you won't drink it without chocolate. Right?
That is correct.
It's weird, just so you know. That's weird.
Weird or not, that's the way it is.
How much chocolate are you wanting in your coffee today? 1 scoop, 2 scoops, 8 scoops?
2.5 scoops.
2 heaping scoops? Or
just put the damn chocolate in it. Okay, Google, stop.
Coffee.
Okay, Google, stop.
If I don't put enough, you get mad.
I don't get mad, I just don't drink it.
No, you get irritated. How's that? You're like, what is the matter with you? How do you drink this? I'm like, I don't know. It's too sweet. Coffee should be black. Like my soul. Maybe like your soul. That's probably closer. Here you go, babe.
Thank you.
Sweet like you pretend your soul is.
So mean. Coffee with a side of slam, I see.
Let's see. Gilded Lion says, does she get to have hands, or she's like transforming into a person midway? Kind of reminds me of morphing from Dota. And Valentar said, wait, what brush was that with the black swirl on the thumbnail? That's the paintbrush.
Black swirl.
Yeah,
oh,
you have up right now, the paintbrush. Yeah.
Yeah. So this just lets me paint the model whatever color I decide. If you hover over a color and hit C, it'll select that color. And then using the paintbrush, you can paint with it. The C is kind of like a color picker if you are familiar with Photoshop terminology.
Ooh, a little bit of a jagged edge there. I like it.
Yeah, I just like every once in a while, just gotta add like a little edge.
I think this one doesn't get to have hands. Is that right?
No, she doesn't have hands. No, she's gonna be mostly water. Because I hate myself and really wanted to torture myself with more water texture.
Oh, just wait for the ocean one next month.
Yeah. Next month? What?
Oh, didn't I tell you?
No.
It's not decided yet, though. Probably next month, but maybe not.
See, so I'm also thinking, okay, if I'm a painter and I want some visual interest in a place, like where can I add that? Where can I give a painter an opportunity to put in some extra flourishes?
That took you a long time to start thinking about that kind of thing, right? You really had to sit down and slap some paint on a lot of your models before it started working out. Knowing, oh, I wish I could have messed with this a little bit here. I wish I gave myself some room to change this up. Or I don't want to have to freehand half the model. I want enough room to freehand, but I don't want to have to freehand half of it.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe you do on this one, right?
Like right now, I think there's the back of this thigh is kind of bothering me. I think maybe I should give her like a little ledge here or something.
Maybe. I kind of liked the thighs being a little more humanoid, but I can see this working too. Gilded Line Mini says, more mermaids. And Valandar says, never used that. I always just turned RGB up and Z intensity to 0 to paint. Any excuse not to make either hands or feet. What about doing the texture on her legs a little more like a wet fabric, so you can still have the implication of the anatomy? I guess you kind of did that. That works. Yeah, I like it.
But to minimize the bouncing.
I suppose.
This makes it very hard. Yeah, because I want to give an opportunity to get some of this real saturatedness on the booty.
Give me a minute. I got a printer here screaming for attention saying, print more books, print more books. So I'm trying to appease the printer gods. Print more books. Go. And I'm back. Yeah, so we want to do more mermaids, Gilded Lion. But we don't, not mermaids. I want to do, we were just talking about that. I want to do octopus mermaids. Because we're doing custom packaging now for all of our sets, but it's not very friendly to small, like little 3 model sets. So we need bigger, need more models. Really, they need 5 to 6 models for it to look good. Here, you want to show?
Yeah, so here's our book boxes. They've got like a 3D kind of cover art, which will be unique for each set. And then the setting logo.
Way bigger for a second here. I'm cheating. Sorry for the mess. There you go.
It's got this cool like page texture on the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And then the inside holds the models in this kind of rubbery filament.
Mm-hmm.
It's got our logo on this side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this side. My nails are black because my 5-year-old daughter painted them.
I mean, you can be a little emo sometimes too. So.
I'm not one of those goth girls that paints her nails black. I don't even paint my nails. I'm not like a nail girl, but my daughter very much is a nail girl. And
oh my gosh, she is such a nail girl.
So, hence the mommy makeover.
Yeah.
In fact, she's probably gonna go get her nails done here for her birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
In a little bit.
You know what we never finished watching, and this set kind of reminds me of it, was American Gods.
That's true. We didn't.
Or maybe we watched all there that was available. I don't know. I know we haven't seen like what should have been the end of it. Now the question is, did it get canceled? I don't know anything about that.
I don't either.
It's a very clever show.
Yeah, I enjoyed parts of it.
Honestly, I think this one's ready for a test print before we go too much further, right?
mean, her hair has to get finished, but
Oh, right. Yeah, finishing out the hair. And Gilded Lion Minis says, oh my God, those boxes are amazing. I need to find custom boxes. Well, to be fair, we didn't find those. We made those.
custom made them.
Mm-hmm.
Took a while.
Gildan Lion says, extra custom boxes. Yes, extra custom boxes.
But with each set that we release, there'll be new custom cover art, and it'll all have the whichever setting it's for. Like this set will be for Estrella, which is like our kind of nature Feywild-esque setting.
Miniature Monthly says, you whittle those out of wormwood, right?
Yeah.
We have been talking about doing a wooden version.
Yeah, like a laser engraved version. Because everything for this box is designed for FDM printing, so it's all flats. Yeah.
Series of layers of flat material. And a laser engraver can engrave to different depths and stuff like that if you get it tuned just right. So
it'd be super cool to see a laser engraved version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were talking about doing them in doing collector sets out of wood, and that the models themselves would be silver, like actual precious metal silver. Those would obviously be very expensive sets, but we think it'd be fun. It'd give people a way to invest that's both financially sound, because you're buying precious metals at that point, and also super cool because you're buying artistic precious metals at that point and cool boxes and stuff.
We also wanted to do like artist specifically painted sets.
Mm-hmm.
So having Aaron Lovejoy do like a whole set of our figures and then selling that.
Yeah, we still got to convince him to get on board for that.
All you Miniature Monthly people, jump on it. He responds to peer pressure.
That's true, he does. You say that as somebody who's even more vulnerable to peer pressure than Aaron. Takes one to know one. Is that the deal?
Yeah. It's just that me and Aaron share an excitement for what other people get excited about. We're like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, you're going to be so stoked. If our booth comes through the way we are hoping our booth will come through, you're going to geek out of this so hardcore.
So excited about it. I really can't say anything about it right now because it's all very in the works and not solid.
And it's not just us. There's a couple new people involved that are. But it's really exciting. Like, super exciting. Maybe
we'll definitely
happen. Maybe it won't.
We'll definitely be posting about stuff as we get closer to ReaperCon. We'll post updates and progress stuff.
We're hoping there will at least be a physical version of the Poison Apple Pub sign. And that'll be like made out of wood. That's not going to be like plastic or plaster.
Yeah, it'll be so cool.
It should be a full full-on wooden poison apple pub sign. So
I want to dye my hair like this girl. That'd be so cool. That ombre watercolor.
Miniature says, Aaron says, if your booth is a giant banana, I'm gonna lose my shit.
There's always money in the banana stand.
I
That'd be
think
funny, though.
if you don't decorate your
Miniature monthly should do. Yeah, Aaron, you should like decorate your desk space with
yeah,
like as a giant banana.
the artist station on Artist Row should absolutely be banana themed. Like get yourself one of those narrow, tall banners, right? That you can set behind your chair, and a big banana boat for you to display all your miniatures in. Aaron says, if we can get like 200 people to walk around one day in a banana outfit, that would be so funny. It would be hilarious, but that's a lot of banana outfits to buy.
Yeah, talk to the Sophie Says people.
Right?
Sophie Says dress up like a banana.
What you'd have to do is come up with a way to make a super reasonably priced, like figure out how to make it out of like paper, right? So you could have that be, Sophie says, take this paper, color it yellow. Sophie says, staple it like this. Sophie says, wear it on your head. Gilded Lion says banana outfits are like $5. Got featured on ESPN wearing one at Iowa State game. Made from actual bananas, says Aaron.
What?
Aaron said made from actual bananas.
Made from actual bananas.
You lost me there. We took it too far. Too far. He says that would be so gross. Yeah, that would be.
Jump the actual banana.
As my daughter would have said, or my son, because my daughter can pronounce, but my son would have said, that's disgusting. Disgusting. Yeah. Noob's already looking at it. She's the noob's already gone to Amazon, checked it out. They're like $25 to $40 on Amazon for a banana outfit. And Gilded Lion says, banana suit requires a banana hammock. I'm just saying. Nope.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
How to get thrown out of Repricon. Step 1.
Buy a banana hammock. Just own a banana hammock.
At least we hope they would throw you out of Repricon for walking around in a banana hammock. Gilded Lion says, I made the cursed comment once stating my yellow hammock looked like a banana. The day I learned what a banana hammock was. Mm-hmm.
Don't let Aaron convince you into looking up moose knuckle.
Don't worry. It's not happening. To my knowledge, I'm the only one I've met so far that resisted the call of 2 girls, 1 cup. Never saw it. Never going to. Everybody's like, oh, it's so terrible. Okay, that's all you needed to say. Nope, not watching. Oh, no, but you got it. Nope, no, I do not. You enjoy your pay you created by Googling that all by yourself.
Yeah, it's bad.
That started with Goatsy, right? Goatsy when I was much younger. That was the original troll image. So then you see that, and then after that, if you're smart, you don't fall for it next time.
Stop listening to anyone telling you to Google anything.
Yeah. The next time somebody's presenting something the same way they presented Goatsy, you don't click it. You just don't do that. Gilded Lion says, the day I learned what a banana hammock was. Oh, the noob says, what if I need to sculpt a camel and see its feet? Should I not look up camel's toes?
Don't do it. I'm not sure that camel feet would be would be better, but
You might have a little more luck with camel feet.
that is the problem with being an artist, though. It gets you on some watch lists for sure.
Gilded Lion says, ugh, I hate it when sculpts do that unnecessarily. Do what? Camel toe? Because I'm with you. That's unnecessary. He said, yeah, no, it's implication is so much stronger than overt in most cases like that. The art of subtlety. It's lost.
I think what you mean is the art of the tease, which, yes, is often lost.
Mm-hmm. Aaron says, maybe if you're more specific with your web search. Try this one. Large Egyptian camel toe. Massive Egyptian camel toe. I gotta see what happens when you type this
No.
down. I'm gonna try.
Don't do it. You said you weren't gonna do it.
No, that just wants to do porn sites. No, it actually mostly shows you camel's feet. Check it out. Almost all camel's feet. And for some reason, butts. It's not even showing fronts. It's just camel's feet, actual camel's feet, and some string bikinis. So it turns out to be as safe as I thought that one might be, mostly. That's funny.
What the hell?
The noob says, let me fire up incognito mood. And Aaron says, I've corrupted Kyle. Oh, Kyle's been long since corrupted. That's how I know not to click on 2 girls, 1 cup. No good can come out of that title. Nope. 3:46. We've got about 10 minutes left. Aaron, if you've got somebody in particular that you think would be ideal to raid, holler at us. Interestingly, that 10 minutes should be just about enough to wrap this one up, huh?
Yeah, probably.
That's perfect. We should show what we're working on, too, because we haven't shown the other one at all. And I think she's real fun. So all of the nymphs and dryads in this set are maybe benevolent isn't the right word, but not malicious, right? They're not going to hurt you. They'll use you, but they're not about anything bad. But this one, she's different. Oh, I see what you mean by the base isn't working yet. Yeah, we got some tweaking to do on her base.
Yeah.
But so this one's kind of praying mantis / Venus flytrap inspired. And this one is most definitely carnivorous. She is not interested in you spending a little time with her and then moving down the road to help her cross-pollinate with other trees. She's hungry.
And you are food.
Mm-hmm. So this is early stages, work in progress, but I think this one's really interesting and fun. I think it's going to be great when we flesh it out. I see you spent a lot of time on that base. That's kind of neat. I have not seen it since you went this direction with it. Not a fan of the little individual plants, like you said. I think that's going to need some tweaking, but we got some ideas of which way to go with this.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to work on this one.
Mm-hmm. But the idea is she's going to be sitting in this big Venus flytrap style flower, and she'll be the bait, right? And she's kind of coiled like a snake where you get close enough, she's going to reach out and grab you.
Gonna reach out and grab you.
Aaron says, Reaper is also going. Maybe a pirate flag? A pirate flag?
What? Is he getting at butt pirates? Is that what he's getting at?
I don't think so. It was a weird direction for you to take that.
I'm sorry.
Aaron says, not sure why she would have a pirate flag. Yeah, I don't. But pirate flags are cool. He said, just give her a pirate flag.
Not sure why, just do it.
I do think some little skulls and stuff around the base of it would be cool.
For which one?
The Venus flytrap one.
Oh, yeah.
Hidden into the foliage. Like, that's a great idea. And you could arrange a skull and a couple bones, a little like the skull and crossbones somewhere, just for Aaron. He says it could be a really small one. So, yep, these will be April's set. The Poison Apple Pub set that you can see up there in the top right, that is the set for this month. You can get that on Christie's My Mini Factory page, Moonlight Minis. You can also get the fancy book box you saw if you subscribe before the end of today to her Patreon, because today's the last day for that one. Actually, that wouldn't be that one, right? That would be the one that's on the printer now, which would be the Poison Apple Pub in the book box. Cover art for that still being designed. So subscribe to that to pick that up. Next month will be these Sirens, and they will have their own, sorry, not these Sirens, these Fae and they will have their own cool box, which you'll get if you're on the Patreon. The Patreon is $50 a month for the book boxes. They're going to retail probably for $129. So a little bit of limited seating. It's just a thank you to everybody that's stuck with us while we are developing and growing. We will probably be dropping that number down at some point and closing it to new subscriptions, even if it's not filled, before ReaperCon. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, we're not really making money for the ones that we're doing for the Patreon. We're just doing that to thank the people who supported us.
Get a little bit of the word out there. Let a few people get them in their hands. Hopefully, show them off, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What channel is on Reaper right now? If they're on, are they actually hosting something, or are they just is it on their show, or are they just broadcasting somebody else's stream? Now I'm super curious. Or is that John's show? I think that's John's show.
I thought his was in the evening.
No, it's John. I like John. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah. Well, cool. We can raid into them.
Yeah. Aaron says, thank you guys for coming on today. You're both amazing. It's cool to have some sculpting on Miniature Monthly's Twitch. I still think the most fun would be a dual stream, right? Where you're painting something, Christy's sculpting something, and gives everybody lots of things to look at.
Thank you for having us and sharing your community with us. We love the people over here at Miniature Monthly. Thank you guys who are normally on our stream for joining us here and mixing and mingling.
For sure. Let me...
I think this girl is ready for a test print. Here's where we're at for her.
Just started the raid. Oh. I can't start the raid. Miniature Monthly, would you mind starting the raid to Reaper?
We will be on our regular Twitch channel on Tuesday at Moonlight Minis, if you don't already follow us there. And then we'll be back on Miniature Monthly's channel sometime this month, as in April. I don't know what your normal streaming schedule is for other shows on this channel.
I don't know that either.
Should look at that.
We should.
But thank you guys for joining us here and spending your afternoon with us. It's been very fun. We're going to get this off to the test printer and work on our other plant girl and try to finish up this release since we are behind due to the book boxes.
Mm-hmm. Still trying to figure out how to do the raid thing. Maybe. I told him what to type, but but he did not type it.
That's because men don't like to follow directions.
That's true. We do not. That is not our favorite thing. Did that work? Nope, that did not work either. Just keeps giving me an error. Oh, she looks real good in the black and white too. Oh, hey, we got the raid going now. Woohoo!
Yay.
2 viewers are ready to raid. Everybody else is abandoning us.
Yeah.
Le cry. Or they just already went over there, or they're like, I'm not waiting for that to happen. Raid now. All right. And you want to hold that in a good position, turn color on for me to turn this off with. And we will end with a nice shot. Say bye.